Get ready to get pumped up.
Our year. Can you feel it? More motivation.
Motivation.
Synergy.
Synergy.
Adventure. Responsibility. Intimacy.
You feel it? Are you getting excited about what lies ahead?
Advancement. Determination. Focus. This is mine.
Like, who's pumped up right now? Yes, motivation. Now, actually, I eat this stuff up, and so I thought, all right, we're in the last week of November. What a better time to have sort of like a Black Friday, one Sunday only, single message series on This Is My Year, I promise. Now, I'm a child of this era, and honestly, I look around the room, I know some of you have these. I wanted every space in my life filled with these kind of posters. Powerful animals basically saying excellence. I really don't know like how a lion is excellent, but excellence, it's a commitment. It's an unrelenting pursuit of your goals. Commitment. Have the desire and commitment to reach new peaks. Now, some of you are like, actually, I have these hanging in my office. And some of you are like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. You're more like potential. Not everyone gets to be an astronaut when they grow up. Or mistakes. Maybe the purpose of your life is to serve as a warning to others. These were called demotivational posters, and they were a response to all these eagles and lions and everything. How about this one? Sorry for the quality. Failure. Sometimes it's the only option. I think a lot of us, myself for sure, we connect with this right here. Procrastination. Just keep putting it off. You were never going to do it. Anyways, maybe this has been your last work week. Nailed it. Is not what you should be telling yourself, because in this particular case, you failed. And then with Christmas ski season upon us, of course, trying. Sometimes you shouldn't. Welcome to one conversation we're going to have about 2023. A New Year's resolution style conversation before we jump into December, and we'll kind of begin the season of Advent or preparation for Christmas Eve, when we begin to explore, do we believe and do we have hope that all things are new? And that's the message of Christianity, and that's what Christmas Eve always draws towards. But right now, we're counting down 5 Sundays till 2023. And some of you are like, dude, you're worse than like Costco right now. I know it's past Thanksgiving, but the Christmas trees and gifts roll out in like September now, October now. I'm not ready to think about the new year. So let's just do a quick straw poll. How many of you love to set New Year's resolutions? Okay, one of you. Excellent. Okay, but you're not off the hook. How many of you would say that your New Year's resolution is to not only not do you New Year's resolutions, but judge everyone who does? How many? Right, all right, we get there. Because here, generally speaking, I think we break up into 2 groups of people. This is not, there's not data behind this. Just generally, in my experience, we break up into 2 groups of people: dreamers and realists. Now, before I kind of define these or talk about these, I want to give you a question. Are you more of a dreamer or a realist? You can turn to someone next to you. If someone's sitting alone, ask them, just throw the question out to them, or turn and say, I'm a dreamer, whatever it is. Are you more of a dreamer or a realist? These are questions we actually talk about if you're new with us today. Put a little music on, turn to your neighbor, go ahead, just get honest. What are you? Now, this is not an overly complicated question. It's just, are you a dreamer or are you a realist? And I tried in my mind, I picture how this conversation goes. And if you were like 2 dreamers, you're probably like, I'm a dreamer. And by the time you were done, you had plans for how 2023 was going to be the best year ever. And if you were 2 realists, you're probably like, these questions are so dumb. I don't know what we're doing right now. Can you just get on with them? Like, it's so interesting. Now, full disclosure, I'm a dreamer. So I obviously think dreamers are the best. But I'm married to a realist who kind of keeps me grounded and anchored. And together we work out in this really incredible way because dreamers talk about the new year like this. This is my year. I'm going to set goals. I'm going to close deals. I'm going to drop pounds. I'm going to gain muscle. I'm going to scale up and grow my net worth and my network. This is my year. This is going to be a phenomenal year. We're going to go here. This is how it's going to be. We're going to accomplish so much. And then the realist says, oh, I'm frozen. I'm frozen up here real quick. Hold on, let me go back. But the realist says, you said that last year. Like, that's just kind of this dynamic. You're like, this is the year where all my goals are going to come true. And there's this interesting phrase in the Old Testament. There's a prophet talking about hope and says, here's the deal. When you hope for something enough times and it doesn't happen, then you become deeply discouraged. Like, you just know, like, what's the point of getting all excited about this? But then the dreamer comes back, and the dreamer's like, everything is wow. And the realist is everything is how. And there's these two, often these people get married, and they make such a fantastic couple for one another. And I think my goal today, so whether you're a dreamer or a realist, it's not to say, well, let's just find out. How many of you are dreamers? Hands up if you're a dreamer in the room. All right, my people. So let's be together today, okay? And how many realists in the room? All right, so what a great community. What a great combination of people. And my goal today is just to introduce a question to you. A question that, regardless of whether you're a dreamer or a realist, will allow us to look at 2023. I'm like, let's take December as pregame to prepare for what might be possible in 2023. And I think it's a question that has the potential to dramatically shape your year ahead. Has the potential to dramatically shape you personally, your relationships, how you engage with people, what you hope for, what your realism looks like. It's got potential to play across all of our lives. But before I get to the question, I kind of need to get to this lens that I think helps us. And hang with me if you're like, of course, as a dreamer, you went there. But let's just talk about this. Possibility. So here's the thing. To get to the question, I think we all have to put 2 feet in the world of possibility. And in the two of these, listen really quick. If you're a realist and you lose sight of possibility, the caution is that you transition from being a realist to being a pessimist. Like, you've just kind of given up hope on all things. And you don't know how to dream about possibility anymore because you've been crushed. Your heart's been crushed so many times. You're like, I don't even want to go there. It's not worth it. But the dreamer also has a problem. The dreamer, if they're not careful, they'll transition from dreaming to just wishful thinking. And maybe that's you or you know those people. And you're like, yep, wishful thinking. Like, that's not really anything we aspire to, right? What are you going to accomplish this year? I'm going to do a lot more wishful thinking. I never heard that. It's not how we go anywhere. It's not how we do anything. And so the power of possibility is this. Possibility fuels the potential for a better future. If you can keep an eye on possibility or use a lens of possibility, it fuels the potential for a better future. And possibility fuels the potential for a better year. So future is that whole long-term thing. Year is the thing that stacks on top of each other year after year after year for something new. But there's a key element in all of this idea of possibility, and it's this. Possibility fuels the potential for a better you. So let's just talk about this real quick. You know, if you look at most of the breakthroughs in science, in business, breakthroughs that you and I, if my generation, have grown up thinking that would never be possible, and yet now it's standard. Everybody kind of lives into it. These breakthroughs, and we'll talk about one in just a moment, these breakthroughs were fueled by possibility. They're fueled because a group of people got together and said, you know what? I think something can happen that hasn't happened. And realists and dreamers came together and united. They grabbed hold of possibility. And they kind of teaches us this reality, that if you don't think it's possible, you'll live your life as if that is true. And some of you know that's right where you are. And if you do think it's possible, you'll live your life as if that is true. It doesn't mean it will happen, but it will change how you think and you move and you live and you breathe. It will affect how you engage with people and what you do with your failures and what you do with your successes. Now, I was thinking about this idea of possibility and applying it to myself. So I'm a public speaker. I do this about once a week. I've done it for quite a while, and I'm dramatic, but I'm not theatrical. And there's a reason for that. At times I've been like, let's hook up the cables and fly me in, or I'll play the drums or something, and everyone will be like, whoa, this is amazing. But something happened to me years ago. And it was a series that we were doing, and I had to talk about this biblical story called the Mount of Transfiguration. Just that's a mouthful, Transfiguration. And in this story, Jesus and some of his closest friends, they go up on a hilltop. And on that hilltop, all of a sudden it says, like fog came in, and the fog was super heavy, and no one could see anything. And all of a sudden, when they finally looked at Jesus, he was transfigured into this glorious person. And there were these prophets that from long of old that were there. And the Peter and the friends of Jesus are like, who is it? What's going on? It's this mysterious moment. And they see Jesus for who he really is. And I was preaching on that. So I'm like, all right, you know what I need? I need smoke. All right? I need haze, but I didn't know anything about haze. I'm like, I want the room. This room held about 500 people, high ceilings. I need this room to be full of haze. So everyone's like and everyone with allergies is coughing and sneezing. I'm like, I got to make this happen. But here's the deal. I don't know anything about haze. So I got one friendly parent loaned me their kids' party haze machine for their 6th grade birthday party. I'm in this huge room. I put the little haze machine down on the front row, and I get a high school student to be the volunteer who's going to fire it up, and then we're going to be filled in a room full of clouds, and I'm going to be preaching about Jesus and how he was transfigured, and I'm going to come out of the smoke, and everyone's going to have this encounter with God because I put intention and thought and possibility into my message. So I worked really hard on the message, and I used to just kind of shoot from the hip a lot. You might think I still do, but I actually don't. I worked really hard on the message. I'm like, I got to put this whole thing together. And then the first service of the morning, Charlie was his name. Charlie's down there, and I'm like, hey, Charlie, when I say this line, hit the haze. Never tested it, didn't know what would happen. We're like, I say a line kind of like the line, very early in the message, and Charlie hits the haze. And all of a sudden, we have a little whiff of smoke. People are about to run for the fire alarm. They don't know, no, it's a theatrical thing. It's okay, hold on. It didn't work, it's all right. We're going to get it next time. The next service, timing's down, Charlie's got it. I get to the point. As Jesus was standing there, a great fog covered the hilltop, and Charlie hits it, and there's a click, click, and a psst, and then a little whiff of smoke starts to come up. Same thing. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I'm still preaching. I'm waiting for the smoke to fill the room. And it's just this, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, I'm such an idiot. But I had this dream of this moment. Some of you have been in these places, if you enjoy theater, things like, whoa! But you know what was interesting? Because of how powerful I wanted that moment to be, I did something I'd never done in my life. I spent a lot of time in preparation because of the possibility that lay ahead. And it changed how I view speaking. It changed how I view the preparation side of things and how I view my relationship with people who take time out of their day to come in and sit and listen. And so although this was a failure, I wish this is what happened, nothing happened. But let's then think about people who do pull it off and people who do live it out. You may know who these two guys are. They're responsible for many things in your life. They might make your work happen, holidays happen, and things you enjoy and experience happens. This is Wilbur and Orville Wright. Now, these two have had a huge impact on your life and my life because they grabbed hold of the word possibility. They thought what could be possible, and these were kind of their qualifications. They were bicycle shop owners, and I know if I'm going to fly, I want a bicycle shop owner to design the thing I fly in. But hold on, they also liked birds. Those two things, the legend is one day they sat together, and as they were sitting together, one turned to the other and went, those birds are cool. We should fly too. And that started this whole journey, a journey that people were investing in and going after. And these were not the guys they were investing in. And if you follow a really cool story, if you like historical stories, David McCullough really brings home the story of aviation and the Wright brothers. But he has a line in there I want to share with you about possibility. So listen to how he describes them. In no way did any of this, the fact that they had no training, no formal education, they didn't have the resources, in no way did any of this discourage or deter Wilbur and Orville Wright, any more than the fact that they had no college education, no formal technical training, no experience working with anyone other than themselves. Let's just keep going with these no's. No friends in high places, no financial backers, no government subsidies, and little money of their own, or the entirely real possibility that at some point they could be killed. In that framework, because of one lens, possibility, these two set the stage to shape the entire globe and the lives we live today. Because here's what they did. I want to take this practical. They lived in possibility, but they visited reality. And so often, especially those of us that have lived a few decades, we start to go, yeah, no, I've tried that. This is where you live. And if you're fortunate enough, you visit possibility. I just want to invite you today, as we head into December, as we think about 2023, whatever your life holds for you, live in possibility, visit reality. So maybe another way to say that is own a room in the land of possibility. Own the space, but just rent in the land of reality, because you might need to move, you might need to unpack, you might need to make it bigger, you might need to step into it. So I'm going to ask you a question, because I think it's the question that helps us do this. Because when I look at this, I'm like, what does that even mean? Well, it means that something's possible for you in 2023. So here's the question. What do you think is possible for you in the new year? So it's a question. I want you to answer it. By now, you've come through and you're like, this is really odd, because this feels a little bit like the side stage at maybe a low-rate business conference, and we're not talking about God in any way. I kind of thought that was going to... So just hang in there. What do you think is possible for you in the new year? Just try to answer the question. Keep the lens of possibility on, whether you're a dreamer or whether you're a realist. And then we'll come back.
Took my love and took it down. Climbed the mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hill, where the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child in my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life?
All right, take a few seconds. You can't iron this thing all the way out right now. But I think, and I want to give to you the idea that this question is a gift for us, regardless of where we are in life. That if we can think about what could be possible. If we stop asking that question, we just decide we're dreamers or realists. We just end up pessimistic or wishful thinking, and we miss the opportunity for something new. So if you were to practically apply this question, if you were to think about, like, in your marriage, have you considered what's possible in 2023 in your singleness? Have you asked yourself in your personal health or your pursuits or your goals? And some of you might be more wired for this, but step outside of your wiring and just really sincerely ask yourself the question. In your emotional life, in your spiritual life, in your competitive life, in your business life. If you have a team, if you work with a team, I know a lot of you have responsibility over or with other people. I just wanted to invite you to consider this last couple of years. If they've been an incredible time for you, the reality is that you've probably owned space as a team in a place of possibility, and you rented space in reality. You refused to just give into the pressure and the difficulty, and you say, what could happen? And that, as a leader or a manager or a team leader, that's a gift to the people that you spend time. Every day they come into work and you set the stage for what their work life and what their work environment can be like. What do you think is possible? What if you sat down with your team and you just asked this question? You said, let's just forget what's going on, like our KPIs and our rate of return. Let's just, for a minute, what do you think is possible? No one's even asked you. What do you think is possible in the new year? But here's the tricky part. This question is like utilitarian, and while it's good, I think it has limits. It's not the question I was excited to talk to you about today. The question I'm excited to talk to you about today is like this, but I think it's so much more important, and it's this. Let me tell you why, because it's not about the content of the question, it's about who. It's about who you're going to consider as you answer the question. What does God think is possible in 2023? I'm convinced, and I've experienced, and I've seen in other people's lives, that when we begin to consider this, there's this gravity that forms in our lives, and it kind of keeps us in orbit. Because when things don't go the way you want them to go, it feels very quickly like you're spinning out of orbit. And even when things do go the way you want them to go, you're just one bad email away, or one announcement away, or one bad interaction away from them spinning out of orbit. And this is a question, because of who's at the center of it, that just gives form and substance and weight to every aspect of our lives. What does God think is possible in 2023? But it's not just the question, it's actually the answer. The answer's not, maybe you hear that and you're like, how am I supposed to answer that? Or maybe you hear that and you go, I'm not even like a religious person or a spiritual person. Or maybe I'm spiritual, but I'm not really a believer in God or Jesus. Around here we say our mission is we want to inspire you to follow Jesus and deepen your faith and relationship with him. And in that space, you might go, I'm not there. And first, I want to say thank you. Like, you come in this space, you give your morning to this space, and I think that's so bold and so open-minded and open-handed, and thanks for being there. And I think this question, it's an all play for us. If you're a follower of Jesus, this is a question we should be asking. And if you're not sure about who he is, this question, it tells me something. It tells me about what kind of God he is, because he believes that something is possible for you in 2023. This is the language I would use, that actually the creator of the universe is particularly interested in what's possible for you and your whole story, your hopes, your dreams, your successes, your failures, your brokenness, your hidden things that you don't bring out, and your public things you put on display. What does God think is possible? And here's the great news. I don't think it's a mystery. I'll tell you why. Because this is what God thinks is possible. Peace, love, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And you might see this, and it's like, it almost reads like a Christmas card or like a Hallmark movie. And which, by the way, I have no shade with Hallmark movies. I'm like 5 deep already. But you might see this, and you might be like, even when I read this list, if you're like, what does God think is possible? I'm like, love, joy, peace. I do like a bedtime story time voice or something. And the reality is, this is not a nice list. Look at this. This is a power list. This is a list of things, of qualities, of attributes that would positively change your life in every way if they were more present. Do you imagine your life with more peace in it? More love? More joy? More kindness, more goodness, more faithfulness, more gentleness, more self-control. Every positive change that I hope for in my life, that I dream for in our community, comes back to these, because these all come from not an external movement of your life, but an internal change of your heart. This is what God thinks is possible for you and me in 2023. 9 qualities. Let's just look at this list and think about it practically. Money. Boy, money is uncertain, isn't it? Sometimes you have a lot, and if you have a lot and you have less, that's anxiety-inducing, or sometimes you have little and not being able to have more creates worry and stress. But could you imagine if, regardless of your financial situation, you experienced more of this, if this was possible in 2000? More peace. You know what? Regardless of money, I experience more peace. Or what about health? There's some of you in this room who carry chronic pain with you all the time, and no one really understands what that's like, to be in that place where you're always just a little bit dealing with something that's nagging and physically pulling you down, and you carry that chronic pain, and you go, okay, but in 2023, what's possible for me? I'd go, maybe patience. I don't mean you're impatient. I mean, what if you could every day live in that space and say, even though I carry chronic pain, this is possible for me. I can hold this pain, and I can live out my life, or I can find joy, and I can live out my life. And maybe you're someone out there who struggles with addiction, or maybe it's an appetite that's out of control. I mean, honestly, I get to sit up and look at all you, and you look good every Sunday morning. The beards that coming in, they're looking good, and your outfit's some flannel going on this morning. Everybody looks really good, but if we peel that back, we are a messy, ugly group of people, because we are carrying within us all sorts of things we're so ashamed of and not proud of, and we don't even know if they fit in this place. We're like, I don't know if I'm even allowed to bring this to the table. But could you imagine if your addictions or your appetites and the things you have tried to shake free from, if in 2023, God thought it was possible for you to have self-control? Maybe something happened in your life and you don't know what it is. You're just more angry. You don't know why, but now you snap. Maybe it's with your kids, or it's with a sibling, or it's with your parents, but you're just like, I don't know why, but I'm always on edge. Like, why can't life just be chill? And you're wrestling with this reality that anger is always right there. What if, for a moment, you believed in 2023 that you didn't have to fight your anger, but the gentleness was possible? See, this isn't all play. This is one that's, I think, really necessary. Judgment. Because judgment is like, to me, it's the consequence of trying to do life without connection to God. We just get relentlessly comparative and makes us judgmental, right? That's my take on it anyways. Judgment. What if in 2023, what was possible for you was not like fighting, carrying judgment towards other people, but was more goodness in your life? This is what God thinks is possible. Here's why. This is where this idea comes from. Paul, who is a follower of Jesus, was writing to Christians in the early days of Christianity saying, this is what it looks like to be a Christian. He said, but the fruit of the Spirit, now here's what I love. This doesn't say, but atomic habits, but the obstacle is the way, but habit. These are all great books about the science of life change, but it actually describes something different, something growing up from within. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And look at this next sentence. Against such things there is no law. These things somehow play at a level in our lives that all they do is build good. All they do is bring flourishing and hope. And here's this wild list that God gives to us. And what God thinks is possible for you and me in 2023 is this right here. The fruit of the Spirit. He's always thought it's possible. It's the ecosystem he set up through the power of his Spirit that if you're a follower of Jesus, you and I would experience in our lives. These qualities. They're called fruit. Like those of you who plant things, your flower, will consider that the fruit, or your tomatoes, that's the fruit. You plant it, you nurture it, you grow it, but you don't, as the person who plants it, you don't get to go like make it grow. You just watch it come from within. You watch it come from within. It's very diagnostic also. Like if you say, I'm a follower of Jesus, you should sit down, roll these 9 qualities out, and go, which ones do I need more of in my life in 2023? What's the possibility? These are all good for everybody. But here's this distinct invitation that God thinks something is possible. And the goal here is not to grow in religious practices or religious principles. The goal here is to realize that God is good and he gives good gifts. And so he says, this is what I have for you. This is what's on my list for your Christmas. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness. Think about this, what this could look like. Here's that list again. So I want to ask you a question, something that I want you to explore, and it's this idea, what does God think is possible for you? Here's the challenge. You're not going to, initially, you can talk to your neighbor, but be careful, or this morning we're going to have a ton of fights on the way home. You can't turn to the person next to you and go, hey, what do I need more of? And they're like, patience. They're like, good talk. Thanks, Carlos. Church was fun today. Like, we can't quite go down that road. Just start light. Like, which one do you want more of? What's possible in 2023? Then I'm going to get practical, kind of give you some steps, and I'm going to get personal, and we're going to head out into our Sunday. All right, so take a minute. What does God think is possible? Just look at that question. Here's how you answer it, because I don't know about you, but I'm so nose blind, like to myself, to my own scent. Some here are like, about time you said that. Here's the thing. We balance so much between like shame, disappointment in ourselves, knowing we don't become the people we want to be, and then hope and pursuing goals and support and resources to grow in things we know are important. I think that we need to do this in community. So here's the process. My goal for all of us as a community in 2023, whether it's the first time you visited today and you don't come back, please take the question with you though. What does God think is possible in 2023? And the answer, these 9 qualities, the fruit of the Spirit. And then here's a way to discern. So ask a close friend, but prep them. Say, hey, next week, I'd like to have coffee. And then when we have coffee, there's these 9 things. And I would love to hear from you which of these 9 things you think I need more of in my life. This doesn't go, someone told me this morning, they're like, you are totally setting up like a month of relationship counseling for people. Because they're all gonna go have, and I see this, they're all gonna go have conversations. They're like, hey, what do you think's possible? Well, self-control. well, I guess we're not spending Christmas together anymore. Like that's kind of just cut out a lot of middle stuff, but that's where we get. So ask a close friend that prep them. Ask a spouse or a partner, prep them though. Give them a chance to think about it. Because the person sitting next to you or the person in your life, like they're not sure they can trust you with the answer. So you've got to show them you can. Ask a roommate. Ask a parent, preferably your parent, and especially ask a kid. Not just some random kid. If you have a child, go to that child and say, hey, what do you need to see more of in mom or dad's life? What do you need to see more of? And then think about some of the spaces we have around here. If you're in a life group or you have a close circle of people, ask them. Not everyone will have an answer. I've been asking people for the last couple weeks. And some people are like, man, I really can't answer that. I think you're great. I'm like, oh, thank you. But those aren't the people I want to listen to. It was the people who could look at me and say, actually, yeah, I have something to say. But this alone is not enough. This is just to help you build consensus. Because then you need to ask God. Because the question with enough gravitational pull to work in your life and my life in 2023 is, what does God think is possible? And then the answer, these 9 qualities. So I ask God and look for consensus. So this might be what you spend some of your December doing. Really want to invite you to do this. Spend some of your December exploring this. Get ready for 2023. And then, real simple, choose one. Just one, please. Like the dreamers in the room are already like, boom, all 9. Next year, I'm going to be like Mr. Fruit, right? You're like, no, that's not how this is going to work. We're going to slow way down, okay? And the realist in the room is like, what's the point? Like, we've gone down this road before. Why would I share anything with you? Because I know it's not going to change. But we're not talking about like learning how to do a muscle up here. We're talking about an internal change because there's a good God who loves you. The creator of the universe believes something is possible for you. He believes that something's possible. So choose just one. And I've been thinking about what do I think is possible, future. Like, could you imagine a community, a faith community where year in and year out, over 5 years, 10 years, we make a habit of doing this? A habit of asking the community around us what needs to take place in our lives. And then as we ask the community around us, like humbly going, all right, how do I get here? It's not a new coaching relationship. It's not a new book or a new podcast. It's leaning deeply into Jesus and deciding if you can trust him. I'm going to go as far as to say grabbing hold of Jesus, which maybe sounds inappropriate. And like grab hold of him and go, I'm not going to let go until you meet me here. And I think what you're going to find is like, cool, unpry your fingers and go, whoa, I'm right here with you. Let's do this together. Choose one. Come back. I actually believe community is a great place. During the month of December, we're going to be in this kind of small Advent conversation leading up to our Christmas Eve services. And I think in this space, it's one area we can be reminded weekly that God thinks something is possible for you and for me. And then we have such a conviction that this transformation happens in community that we say, like, get in a group, like serve together, or in a life group, or a group. Just if you have a group, bring that group in and say, hold me accountable. Those would be some of the next steps. So we can be accountable and we can cheer each other on, because most of us don't know what it's like to be on the other side of ourselves. Like, we don't quite know. Like, I don't know what it's like to be on the other side of me. I hope it's good, but I see evidence that sometimes it's not. And so I'm going to invite people in. I'm going to humbly listen, and then I'm going to walk this road. And this road is going to be an invitation to which one of these does God think is possible? Now let's just do a thought exercise. So imagine 9 years from now. Let's just say it was a closed system. Everything works out perfectly. 9 years from now, you just start and you say, all right, God, I know you think this is possible. I'm going to pursue you so hard because I believe that you can bring this in my life. It's a gift, something you'll give me. And if I have more of these, will your life not be better for those around you? Will you not be someone who brings hope and goodness and possibility no matter the circumstance? The kind of stories we see in the New Testament as people were in prison together. And like, what do you want to do? Hey, let's sing some songs and be happy. And we're like, wait, you're in prison together right now. No, we've got this fruit. We can't stop it from growing and producing. And here's the interesting thing. Fruit, who's fruit for? Not the vine or the branch. Fruit's for the people who benefit, or who take it and benefit from it. So this isn't even for you. This is for the people you love. And maybe I'd go as far as to say, more importantly, for the people you hate. That's who this is for. So I got thinking about this and started asking around. I asked my wife, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be, here we go. Like, she's going to say something. I'm going to respond in a way. We're going to have a fight about it, and then I'm going to have to give a message on it and not tell you that happened. Fortunately, that didn't happen. She sent me a text, and I got some different answers, but I started to see some things aligning, and her words summarized, and I asked her permission to share this with you. This is what she said to me. She sent me a text, and she said, I would say self-control, a deep kind of self-control, right down to your spirit, that doesn't need to fight for self-control on the surface because it's deeply true in your heart. And that's a person who knows me best. They know I'm a wildly consumptive person who just loves life and wants to take it all in. And they're like, Carlos, I've spent 24 years with you. I think self-control, but please don't read one more book on self-control. A deep self-control from deep, and she shared this with me. And so then I take this, I'm fully leaning into this. I'm like, 2023, what's possible for me? A deep self-control that comes up from within my heart. And that self-control can only be good for my kids, my wife, my neighbors, my family, this church. It can only be a good thing. There's nothing bad that can come from that. So I'm going to lean fully in because I believe it's a life-changing pathway that God will meet me on. And as I walk through 2023, those of you who know me, maybe we rub shoulders a little more, I hope I hear, man, something's changed about you. I go, oh, that's the fruit. That's the fruit of the Spirit. That's a gift of God. I have more self-control in my life. And I think if I'm going to get there, if I'm going to get to December 2023, then I have to have this desperate dependence on Jesus like I've never had before. Because I've been fighting the self-control battle for a long time. And I'd like to go, like, from an outward appearance, I'm like a pretty good Christian. And here I am. I can't muscle my way into it. But God has a good gift he wants to give me that will bless my wife, my kids, my neighbors, my family, my friendships, this church, the people I don't get along with well. This will come to play in all of those because it's a gift from him. So my question is going to be like, and the question I hope you'll ask me is, Carlos, does self-control mark your spiritual life? We have, like those of you who are Christians, we've gotten way off base with some of this. We think this is like, yeah, I know this, but let me get to the real issue. I'm like, what? Time out. This is the fruit that comes from being connected to the vine. Jesus said, I'm the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, you will bear much fruit. See the order of operations there? I'm the vine, you are the branches. And then he says something so offensive, unless it's true. Apart from me, you can't really bear this fruit. And that's something we all have to wrestle with. Because on the surface, I know people who are irreligious and unreligious and who absolutely embody these qualities. So I want to get to the bottom of Jesus' statement. And what he's saying is that he's the vine and I'm the branch. And the self-control that my wife has wisely agreed with others that I need in my life, it's going to come from desperately being dependent on Jesus. So things like money, I can have peace. In our health, especially aging, I mean, some of you aren't even worried about. Others of us are like, I only have so much time left. We're trying to figure it out. You think about that, and in my aging, could you imagine if I have joy in my aging as I lose my physical vitality and my strength in my shoulders? But this shoulder fell apart this weekend. I didn't even do anything. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm going, but what if I could have joy in that space? In the world that's throwing constant messages, barraging us with like, you should be full of anxiety and anger. What if I felt like I just keep producing a deep, abiding love in my life? And maybe I carry, these are not all the same, but some worry or anxiety or depression, and I feel shame or guilt, or I'm not sure how to get support in these things. But what if I went, not that it's fixed, but what if I went to Jesus and I said, Jesus, I don't know what you're going to do with these things, but will you give me patience? Will you give me patience with my own mind, the own space I live in? Will you produce this fruit in my life? I know a lot of us are angry. It's an assumption I'm making, but I think it's absolutely true. We're just a little more angry. In our close relationships, we fight hard to not, step on that thing that we step on and everything explodes. But how about instead of trying not to, imagine this if I said it this way. What we do is we learn how to manage each other. Okay, I know if I go there, we're going to have a fight, so I'm not going to go there so we don't have a fight. That's just managing somebody. What if instead mutually we pursued more patience and more kindness, more gentleness, and we started to see through desperate dependence on Jesus, these things became more present in our lives. And so we weren't living our relational life like this, trying to make our way through it. So there's the list. My closing question for you before we sing a song that I think really invites us into this reality is to sit and today for you decide which one. And then over the next few weeks, explore with the people around you who know you. Are you right? Is there agreement? And when there's consensus, then you know for 2023 what God thinks is possible for you. All right, so here's your closing question, then we'll sing together. Or here's your closing list. Just reflect on it.
What fortune lies beyond the stars, those thousand heights too vast to climb. I got so high to fall so far, but I found heaven as love sweat flow. My heart beating, my soul breathing. I found my life when I laid it down. Upward falling, spirit soaring. I touched the sky when my knees hit the ground. What treasure waits within your skies? This gift of freedom gold can't buy. I bought the world